Hey everyone, Duke here, and with the recent changes, it was kinda time to look at the top 5 junglers again, and these are mine for the current patch. So, as a reminder, the biggest change in this patch is power potions being removed. That makes early aggression junglers a little bit weaker, simply because the early aggression is not going to be as strong no matter what, and those who are more late game focused and don't make too much use of power potions become a little stronger. Additionally, we have a slight buff to Runeforged Hammer, which might make it worth being picked up on Nemesis. Not sure yet, we'll see. Let's jump right into the gods. Number 1, and I'm very certain, this is the one where I would say I wouldn't even think about it for a second. Nemesis. Nemesis is so strong currently, she has got so much in her kit, it is ridiculous. There's not much to say about her really. Every item that benefits her, every of the last patches gave her something more, never anything taken away from her in return. Power potions being gone is good for her as well, because while you often got power potions on her just so you can keep up and clear, she's actually better without it, because it means that the enemy won't have it either, and you'll have more time to come online, and once you get past those early, slightly rough levels, Nemesis is a monster. So, this is one build you could do. She's got a million builds that work. You can go even more defense, you can go even more damage, you can go anything in between. This is just, one that I'm throwing out there so you guys have something to build. You start with Bumba's Mask and you start with Boots, and that's pretty much the same for any character at the moment, unless you want to go on Ikvale start or something like that. Then you can start with the short bow, but then this one is Ninja Tabi, Void Shield, Ritual Dagger, so you got a mix of pen, defense, and CDR, attack speed, health, so very good early tankiness, and then Concise to get that ridiculous burst. Sometimes I even rush Concise before anything else because it works too. Mantle of Discord for even more defense and CDR, and Executioner to finish off the threat, sorry. So that's Nemesis. Not much you can do against her really. She's so hard to counterplay at this point, and some of the guys that were like strong at, or good, decent at countering her fell off now as well. Kabrakan got some nerfs, for example. So she's just a beast. Not much more to say about it really, because I don't think there's any discussion needed about this one. Number 2, 3, 4, I'm kind of around the same level, honestly, but I will give it to Cali, because once again, she's one of those gods that doesn't really benefit from Power Potion, so everything that's against Power Potion works well for her. Once again, start with Bumba's Mask. On Cali, you can start with the Light Blade along with it, so you get right into Concise. You want Concise as soon as possible. Then the core build should be Ninja Tabi, Concise before anything else, because she has a stun. Hasten Fatalis, and after that it becomes situational. I often build Stone Cutting Sword next, and then Executioner. But if you got a lot of slows on the enemy team, you can go Wing Blade, you can go Ritual Dagger, you can go Odyssey Bow, so many options. You can go some more power. I don't really like Bloodforge. I've debated this in past videos, but it's also an option. So there's so much room here for pretty much any item that kind of makes sense for her. And yeah, once again, snowballing character, extremely strong in the late game, so everything that works towards that just helps her a ton. Then we have Susanoo. Susanoo, I think, is still very strong. He's not as broken as people make him out to be, but he's got a lot of potential. He's got that AoE damage, teamfight potential while having early aggression, but he falls off late game, different from the others here. And Power Pot being removed is kind of a nerf to him, but I think he still has a lot of potential, especially in lower levels of play where he's not shut down and controlled properly. So build would be Warrior Tabi, Void Shield. Height of the Urchin, I like this a lot because it gives him a lot of defense. You will get some kills early on most of the time, and with that defense you're a lot tankier than you should be as an assassin really, and that makes him a lot more scary. Jones Wrath for the extra CDR and some extra pen, can be sold for something else later. Titan's Bane and Mantle of Discord. Now you get full CR, you get a lot of defense for a jungler, you get 200 physical protection, and you still dish out a decent amount of damage, and I think that's the only way to really get him to late game, because he's not going to burst people late game unless you're like terribly ahead, similar to a Thor, for example. But instead, you're gonna be more of a, annoyance late game to the enemy team, and in order to perform that way, you need to stack up on some defenses early on. So that order can be changed once again. You can build Height of the Urchin item later if you think it's not the best time to build it or whatever, but that seems to work for me. Overall, good matchups. Not too many guards that shut him down that hard. For example, no counter not countered by a Willish because he doesn't have a leap. So that works in his favor. Then, third character that is kind of on the same level, in my opinion, is Red Tusker. Red Tusker hasn't actually seen too much play lately, but he's still extremely potent. And build is very similar to Susanoo. You get the Acorn, then you go into Void Shield, Heart of the Urchin, John's Wrath. Titan's Bane here, I built before that, but once again, order is very interchangeable. Many builds work for him. Ability guards always have very flexible builds, and Metal of Discord for the CDR in this case, but, you know, it's just to give you an option what you could build, not what you have to build. Once again, he doesn't have too many matchups he struggles with. The only one that he's really like afraid of every single time is Fenrir. But Fenrir doesn't have Power Pot anymore, so Fenrir's early is kind of crippled a little bit, and that's problematic for him. So Red Tusker has more breathing space, so to speak, which really helps him in his path to get online enough. And, you know, as he doesn't need Power Pot, he can build his boots, Acorn, while somewhere on the field, whereas other jungles have to go back. That's always a great advantage early, and this gives him more early potential than most others have now that Power Pot's gone. And then things become really interesting. So, guards I'm debating for slot 5. Naja's up there. Naja's really interesting to play now. He's really good. I will give him the credit for that. But I don't think he's currently top 5. I think he's like slightly below the line. Mercury with his buffs could be up there. I'll actually click on the guards real just you know, give the people an image if they just browse through this. You know, Naja, an option, but not right in my top 5. Still a hard to play guard and not as rewarding as others. And then you have Mercury. He's got his buffs. I don't think it will make him that high of a tier. I think he's in a solid place, but I don't think he's top tier jungle at the moment, and I don't think the buffs will change that because they don't really affect him all too much until mostly late game, and late game he's strong anyways, so yeah. And then Fenrir, I think Fenrir is really good. The Power Pod removal sucks for him, so doesn't make him top 5, but I think he's still very potent. Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about him. Willish is great, but she is extremely situational. I love a Willish, you guys know that, but I don't think she's top 5, and I don't think she will ever be, simply because if you fall behind as a Willish and your team is getting pressured, a Willish is a shit pick. She is good when ahead, and that's most of the time, that's it. There are exceptions, obviously, but that's where her position is and what's keeping her from getting into top 5. Arachne, interesting place with the new webs. I think she simply lacks the clear to be considered an effective pick most of the time. So, if you get those snowball ganks early, sure, but if you fall behind, once again, you have a big problem. Others I wouldn't even consider. Circuit, maybe. Circuit is also good now. The Power Pot's gone. It's helped her a little bit. But once again, she's a very solid pick, very good pick, but don't think she's top 5. She's, you know, solid 8 here. A+, maybe. And then we have Thor. But Thor is just a weaker Red Tusker most of the time at the moment. Which is ironic, because Thor was always top pick. He's still very strong, don't get me wrong. He's still above A tier, but he's not quite there at the moment. The rest, I don't really think I need to talk about him. Butts is always great, but he's not really top tier worthy in my opinion. And yep, that's about all that could be considered for top tier at the moment. Bakasura also very solid, but yeah. The top pick, number 5, goes to Bei. Just kidding. Goes to Ao Kuang. I did not put Ao Kuang in there in the last patches, sorry. Because I thought that Ao Kuang kind of, you know, wasn't in the best place anymore with the changes to him and Sile, you know, how it's apparently called, because that really works against him. That item is a great counter to him, and it still is. It even got buffed, so that's all in against his favor and everyone else's favor. But the crucial point here is that Ao Kuang was not reliant on Power Potion. Ao Kuang would build a tier 2 of Dynasty, tier 1 of Dynasty Playtime early on, Imperial Helmet, I think it's called. And with that, he would be all set for the early game. And the biggest problem for Ao Kuang was getting past the early game and getting past aggressions. You could pick very aggressive junglers, like for example a Willish, and just bully him out extremely hard early game, so he wouldn't even like be able to get his foot into the game. So, with power potions gone, he's got a lot or less to worry about early on, and therefore I would put him top 5 again. Imperial Helmet's what it's called. There we go. No, that's the tier 1. Whatever. I don't know why Dynasty Playdom is not showing up here. So Bomber's Mask, you would then go into hang on, let me just get that way quick. Dynasty Playtime. Here we go. So you would build Bomber's Mask, Imperial, Shoes. Don't finish Dynasty Play before. Then you trade those out. You obviously don't sell them yet, but then you get Dynasty Playtime. Poly. And you've got a really good power spike already. You get the Obsidian Shard on top of that. Soul Reaver. And now you got ridiculous burst already. And then you can get Rod of the Hoodie and you can sell that Dynasty Playtime and get a Spirit Desolation if you ever get to that point of the game. Not making you tanky anymore, but giving you an insane amount of burst. And that works really well for me again now that Power Pod is gone. Alright, that's my top 5. But there's one more honorable mention that we might see more. You will probably see some Freya jungle just because she's, you know, gotten changed. But this one is going to be really, really interesting. Why did I click Guardian? That's also interesting, but not what I wanted to look for. I want to look for warriors. We have, obviously, sorry I didn't mention him, we have Erlang Shen. Erlang Shen is a very good jungler, don't get me wrong. He's a great jungler. He is probably OP overall, but the point is that he's probably more OP in solo than he is in jungle. So, I don't really see the reason to pick him into jungle. His ganks are solid, but with Power Pod gone, they're a little less, you know, aggressive early. He's okay, he's fine, he's good, but he's just better in solo. That's really all. That's what makes the god what he is, I think. And that's what keeps me from putting him into the top 5 junglers. But this guy. So Guan Yu got a change to his whole passive thing. We can look at that. Where is it? Abilities, passive. You know, we got those buffs for every ability that he has. The healing buff, the slow buff on his 2, the protection steal buff on his 3, and the slow and stun buff on his ultimate. I'm actually surprised. Oh yeah, it's a 0.5 longer stun, but the slow is what's crucial here. The slow increase. What kept him from going into the jungle last patch was the fact that he had 30 stacks to build up. I tried it out, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can't build 30 stacks all the time in the jungle. If you want to gank in between and stuff like that, it's just not possible. And then you have to hold them for the gank and yada yada. You get it. It's not good. But it's now 20 stacks again. It's nerfed down or buffed up basically. Now that's 20 stacks. You get your abilities going quicker. I am very certain that Guan Yu is in a better place. And I think he could have some potential as a jungler. I don't know if he will. He's not top 5 for me yet, because obviously I haven't even been able to test him out in his current state. But he may very well be soon. We'll find out. So, that's it for the top 5 junglers with some mentions of other gods, so you have an idea of which else could be good. Once again, these are not all junglers that you could play. There's even other warriors that you could play. Hinting these here, or this one. So there's a lot of room overall about which gods you could pick at the moment. I think pretty much every assassin except Loki is a viable jungler. Thanatos is very weak, but that's it. And with that, I know there's gonna be some terrible discussion below. And I will probably not answer too many questions in this particular video, or below this particular video, because I can't be bothered reading all that bullshit. Sorry, but I will read some of the good comments, and I will reply to the most upvoted. Don't worry about it. But top 5 lists tend to drag in some interesting people. So, sorry about that in advance. Thank you guys for watching. Duke Sloth, out.